Despite being vilified and exiled from WWE for his extracurricular activities, Vince does deserve credit for a lot of what we take for granted in wrestling today. Make no mistake, his last 10 years in the hot seat were nothing to write home about, but today we're going to look at some of the positive influences Vince McMahon had on professional wrestling. Sports entertainment. Ugh. I'm Titan, and these are some of the positive things Vince McMahon has done for professional wrestling and its fans. Before we continue, please leg drop the like button, curb stomp the share button, claymore the notification bell, and Superman punch subscribe. Thank you. Number 5. Production values. All TV wrestling shows today have basically the same setup. Ring central in the arena, with a rampway to a stage with giant video screens above the entranceway. Wrestling would look odd without this setup, right? In 1997, Vince McMahon made this his staple look for Monday Night Raw, and save for some minor aesthetic and technical changes, this has been the stock look for TV wrestling since that time. Though he wasn't the first to do any one of these things, he was the first to make it a permanent part of his TV show. Also added on the production side were multiple cameras to cover all aspects of the show, and more recently, virtual reality graphics for the TV audience and a whole load of other technological innovations that add to the overall look of the show. Some traditionalists may say it's not gritty enough and it looks too polished, but one thing it definitely does look like is a Major League Wrestling outfit. Number 4. Pop culture icons. During the rock and wrestling hysteria of the 1980s, Vince McMahon turned up the show business aspect to 11. WWF's biggest stars were achieving a higher profile than any of their predecessors, thanks to Vince's national expansion. Hulk Hogan, principal among these, made appearances on many late-night talk shows and made 2 separate guest star appearances on the A-Team. Hogan's perennial foe, Roddy Piper, would launch a movie career off the back of his WWF antics. In addition to the primetime exposure, Vince's merry band of bonebenders would be featured in a children's cartoon, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, and also on an endless string of merchandise. The WWF would forever be part of the pop culture zeitgeist from then onwards, with Steve Austin, The Rock, and John Cena becoming the next in line for mainstream acclaim in the following 2 decades. None of this happens, however, without Vince McMahon's promotional machine behind it. Number 3. WrestleMania. The showcase of the immortals, the biggest spectacle in live entertainment, the colossal tussle. Yes, if not for a suggestion by long-time ring announcer Howard Finkel, Vince McMahon was rumoured to be set on calling what we now know as WrestleMania the Colossal Tussle. Safe to say we all dodged that particular creative bullet. Despite not being the first major closed-circuit wrestling show, that honour going to Jim Crockett Promotions' first Starrcade in 1983, WrestleMania was by far the biggest, with over 200 movie theatres across the US showing the event live, along with the 20,000 plus crowd crammed into the world-famous Madison Square Garden. Vince took a gamble on the first Super Show, making deals to secure the funding for the show right up to the day itself. After determining the event a huge success on all fronts, Vince would decide that WrestleMania would be an annual springtime event, almost a season finale of all the previous year's storylines and feuds, culminating at the biggest show of them all. Despite the entire escapade being scoffed at by other promoters, history paints Vince as the man who took a chance and won. Today, WrestleMania is ingrained in the wrestling fans' minds as the ultimate stage in pro wrestling, with its 39th installment mere weeks away. Number 2. The WWE Network. In 2014, my complete and up-to-date WWE pay-per-view collection on DVD was rendered completely obsolete by the emergence of the WWE Network. After WCW and ECW folded in early 2001, Vince McMahon embarked on a mission to purchase as much footage as possible from as many other wrestling companies as he could to bolster WWE's home video division. Virtually every company or territory that had existed from the 60s to the 2000s had their video libraries purchased by Vince McMahon. The crown jewel for Vince was to place virtually the entire backlog of WWE content on a streaming service, along with the purchase video libraries to make a one-stop shop for wrestling fans for the relatively small sum of just $9.99 a month. What a bargain! On top of the existing footage, all new pay-per-view events would air live at no extra cost and be available to stream as soon as the event was over. Not only were there approximately 1.5 million people subscribing on a worldwide basis by 2020, Vince McMahon would sell the US streaming rights to his network to NBC Universal for $1 billion in a 5-year deal to stream on the company's Peacock service. WWE fans stateside have been critical of Peacock since taking the reins, but we in the UK still have the WWE Network in all its glory, and we love it. Number 1. The Mr. McMahon character. The Mr. McMahon character is without doubt the greatest heel in wrestling history. No sooner had Vince's now infamous Bret Screwed Bret interview aired on Monday Night Raw, the fans were determined to rally against the WWF owner. But we weren't off to the races with this story just yet. Vince McMahon wasn't yet sold on becoming an on-screen character, having tried to portray himself as just a TV announcer for nearly 30 years. Vince's appearance on WWE TV post-Montreal were an act of damage control in his mind, trying to portray the company as the quote-unquote good guys in the Hitman Montreal saga, but the fans weren't having any of it. McMahon would eventually embrace his evil boss persona wholeheartedly and pitted himself against his company's top babyface, Stone Cold Steve Austin. McMahon vs Austin was the absolute peak of professional wrestling, with McMahon putting obstacles in Steve Austin's way at every turn, only for Austin to foil McMahon over and over again, until it came time for Vince himself to climb into the ring. McMahon was never the most polished performer, and I'm being very generous in my appraisal there, but he played his part expertly, taking an arse whooping from Steve Austin on a nearly nightly basis and making his company an absolute fortune in the process. And that's our video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be informed of new content from us, and follow us on social media. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.